Join us in preparing a traditional Thanksgiving meal for two that's easy to make and will leave you with little to no leftovers. Today's menu includes favorites such as turkey tenderloin, cornbread stuffing, sautéed green beans, cranberry sauce, and we're finishing it off with a mini pecan pie. In the description below, you'll find a list of all the ingredients needed, as well as recipes and links to the recipe videos for each of the dishes we're making. Hi, I'm Joni from OneDishKitchen.com, your #1 source for single serving recipes.
And I'm EJ, Joni's +1.
My husband. And like we traditionally do, we're going to make the dessert the day before so we can focus on the main meal. We're also going to make cornbread for the cornbread stuffing. Let's get started with what we're making the day before Thanksgiving. First, we'll make the shortbread crust for the pecan pie. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. In a bowl, cream 2½ tablespoons of softened butter and 2 tablespoons of sugar until light and fluffy. Add a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Mix until combined. Press the dough into the bottom of a lightly greased 5-inch baking dish. Bake for 12 to 15 minutes or until lightly golden. Set the crust aside and prepare the filling.
Now, to make the pecan pie filling, mix 1/4 cup of corn syrup, 1 egg, 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of melted butter, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract in a bowl using a spoon. Stir in 1/3 cup of pecans. Pour the filling over the shortbread crust and bake it in the center rack of the oven for 30 minutes. While
the pecan pie is baking, let's make the cornbread for the cornbread stuffing. It's best to use day-old or stale cornbread for dressing because the stale bread will soak up more of the broth and add tons of flavor to the dressing. In a medium-sized bowl, whisk together 2½ tablespoons of melted butter, 1/4 cup of milk, and 1 large egg until well blended. In a separate bowl, mix together 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of yellow cornmeal, 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Add the cornmeal mixture to the milk mixture and stir just until the flour is moistened.
When the pecan pie is ready, remove it from the oven and put it on a wire rack to cool.
For the cornbread, we'll set the oven temperature to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and put a 6½ cast iron skillet in the oven to preheat. If you don't have a cast iron skillet, you can use a 5-inch square or a 4x6-inch rectangular baking dish or even a 6-inch round baking pan. If you're using a baking dish, don't preheat it. When the oven reaches 400 degrees, take the cast iron skillet out of the oven with oven mitts. Put about 1/2 tablespoon of butter in the skillet to melt. Gently swirl the pan to spread the butter over the bottom and the sides of the pan. Pour the batter into the greased skillet or pan and spread it evenly. Bake for 20 to 25 minutes or until golden brown. Cover the cornbread when it's cooled. So the pecan pie and the cornbread are done, so you can just leave them on the counter overnight and they'll be ready for tomorrow. It's now Thanksgiving Day and time to make a great meal. So you already have the cornbread for the cornbread dressing we'll be making, as well as your pecan pie that you get to enjoy for dessert.
We'll be preparing 4 dishes simultaneously using only 2 burners on the stove and 1 oven.
To shorten the time needed, we're going to be preparing a lot of the dishes at the same time so that most of them are done at the same time and can be served hot. The first dish we'll be making is the cornbread dressing. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat 2 tablespoons of butter in a medium-sized skillet over medium heat. Add 1/4 cup of chopped onions, 1/4 cup of chopped carrots, and 1/4 cup of chopped celery, and cook until the vegetables have softened, stirring occasionally for about 3 minutes. Then add in 1 clove of minced garlic, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of dried sage, and 1/4 teaspoon of Italian seasoning to the onion mixture, and cook, stirring frequently for 30 seconds. The main herbs found in Italian seasoning are basil, oregano, thyme, and rosemary. If you don't have Italian seasoning, use 1 or 2 of these herbs instead. In a large bowl, combine the crumbled cornbread and 1 slice of stale or toasted bread and set the bowl aside. In a small bowl, whisk together 1 large egg, 3/4 cup of chicken broth, and 1/4 cup of heavy cream or half and half. Next, stir in the onion mixture. Pour the liquid ingredients into the bowl with the cornbread and stir. The mixture should be very moist. Add a little more broth if necessary. Transfer the mixture to a buttered 5 by 7 inch baking dish. Cut 1 tablespoon of butter into small pieces and scatter the butter over the top of the dressing. Bake for 30 minutes or until the top is lightly golden. While the cornbread dressing is baking, we're going to start prepping the ingredients for the turkey tenderloin, the green beans, and the cranberry sauce. First, we'll prepare the turkey tenderloin. Mix together 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, a half of a teaspoon of dried sage, a quarter of a teaspoon of garlic powder, a quarter of a teaspoon of kosher salt, and an eighth of a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper in a small bowl. Put the tenderloin on a plate and then sprinkle the seasoning mix over both sides of the turkey, rubbing the spices in with your fingers. Let's check on that cornbread stuffing. Looks like the cornbread stuffing's ready, so let's take it out of the oven, put it on a rack, and cover it to keep it warm. For the turkey tenderloin, we'll place a 10-inch cast iron skillet in the oven on a middle rack and heat the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. The skillet's going to heat along with the oven. If you don't have a cast iron skillet, there's a link in the description below on how to cook turkey tenderloin in a baking dish. Next, let's get the green beans started. Place 1 cup of fresh green beans with the ends trimmed off in a 2-quart saucepan and cover them with cold water. Add a half teaspoon of kosher salt and put the saucepan over high heat and bring it to a boil. Keep an eye on it because when it reaches the boiling point, we'll reduce it to medium heat and cook for 4 minutes. While the green beans are heating, we'll start the cranberry sauce. In a 1-quart saucepan, add 1 cup of fresh cranberries, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of orange juice, 1 tablespoon of water, and a cinnamon stick. Put the saucepan over medium heat, stirring occasionally to dissolve the sugar. When the pot starts to boil, we'll reduce the heat to a simmer. It looks like the green beans have reached boiling. Now reduce the heat to medium-low and cook until the beans soften to a crisp tender, which takes about 4 minutes. Set a timer. Time to check to see if the oven has reached 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Using oven mitts, remove the skillet from the oven and add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to the pan. Give the pan a swirl so that the oil coats the entire bottom. Place the tenderloin in the skillet and using oven mitts, return the skillet to the oven and set the timer for 10 minutes. The cranberries should be boiling by now, so reduce the heat to simmer and continue to cook them for about 10 to 12 minutes so that the cranberries are tender and open up. I'll set a timer for 10 minutes. The 4-minute timer has gone off for the green beans. Drain the green beans and rinse with cold water so they stop cooking. Set the beans aside. After 10 minutes, remove the skillet from the oven and using tongs, flip the turkey over. Reduce the oven temperature to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and continue roasting for another 15 minutes. The 10-minute timer has gone off for the cranberries and the berries have opened up and are tender. We'll take them off the heat and put them in a bowl to cool. The timer for the tenderloin has gone off, so let's check to make sure it is at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove the skillet from the oven, add 2 tablespoons of butter to the top of the turkey, and cover the skillet with a large plate, a pan lid, or foil. The heat from the pan will melt the butter, which will mix with the juices from the turkey. We'll leave it covered to rest for 10 to 15 minutes. When the tenderloin has 5 minutes left to rest, we'll finish the green beans. Start by melting 1 tablespoon of salted butter in a 10-inch skillet over medium heat. Add 1 clove of minced garlic and 2 tablespoons of slivered almonds. Toast the garlic and almonds until golden, about 1 minute. Add the green beans to the skillet and toss to coat. First, let's slice the tenderloin and then spoon the wonderful buttery sauce over the tenderloin slices. Next, we'll plate the side dishes and make 2 traditional Thanksgiving meals to enjoy. We were able to make our Thanksgiving meal in just 90 minutes. We made our cornbread for the cornbread dressing and our pecan pie the day before, which freed up our oven and cut our cooking time substantially.
Be sure to check out these great videos and click below to like and subscribe.
And please visit onedishkitchen.com where we have hundreds of single serving recipes. At One Dish Kitchen, cooking for one is all we do.
Except for today.
That's right.
Bye for now.